Hey guys.
What's up, guys?
So in this video, we're going to break down our trip to Iceland, tell you all our favorite places and places that you might not necessarily have to go and take a look at. We're going to drop the itinerary below so you can follow our exact same route that we took. Overall, amazing trip. So
it was very worth it, but we have a lot of stuff to cover in this video, so
yeah, we're gonna get started.
Okay, so to start off the trip, we landed in Keflavik. Everyone thinks you land in Reykjavik, but you don't. It's actually about
it's like a 20-minute drive.
20-minute drive?
Yeah.
So we landed in Keflavik, picked up our rental car there, then drove to Reykjavik to actually see the capital. And there's so much stuff to do there, by the way. So if you like shopping, if you like architecture, so it's definitely something you guys don't want to miss.
Yeah, the most iconic building in Reykjavik is actually based off of one of the most iconic black sand beaches, actually, which is really interesting.
I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Yeah, it's the same type of architecture where it has like it's very cubical, if that makes sense. There's a lot of like different like cubes and blocks, and you'll see that a lot in Iceland. That's why it's a very fascinating building. But we had to book it out of there very quickly to go to our first location, and it was a big location because it was one of my favorite things that we did there.
It was a really, really special thing that we did. We collaborated with Arctic Adventures, and we basically did a snorkeling tour.
Yeah, it's called the Silfra National Park, and basically what it is just two continental plates, and water goes in between them, and it is some of the clearest water you will ever see in your life. So we are lucky enough to be able to collaborate with them, which made the whole thing just really special. The people there were super friendly, and yeah, it was very, very nice. I think we both enjoyed it a little bit more than we were expecting.
Yeah, we definitely did. And it was so incredible because the water is like 20 degrees, so it's freezing, but because you're wearing wetsuits and so many layers, you don't feel the cold except on your lips and your face a little bit. And it was really interesting too because they told us that we could stay hydrated and drink the water. We were like, wait, this water we're swimming in? But it's so clean and it's so clear that you actually can drink it.
We both thought she was joking when she said that, and she said, no, seriously, take out your snorkel and just inhale some of the water, just drink it. And sure enough, it was some of the clearest water, cleanest that I've ever drank in my life. It was so good.
It was delicious.
Yeah, but just to let you guys know, you cannot pee while you're in there because they're dry suits. So that means they keep everything dry underneath your clothes too. So yeah, I didn't test that one out, but you definitely cannot. And super cool side note is we were actually able to get drone shots while being there. So that was another really rare thing that we weren't expecting to be able to get because it's a national park, but the ranger gave us permission to fly because we were collaborating with Arctic Adventures. So that just made the whole experience to me that much more memorable because we both weren't expecting them to let us do that.
Yeah,
so
it was really nice to just be able to get drone shots from above. I mean, it looked really, really amazing.
Okay, so we had to get back in the car and take off because, again, this trip, the only thing you're going to see repeating is how fast it was and how quickly we had to move to get to the next location. So we packed up and we started driving more north. So we drove about, like 2-ish hours away?
Yeah, I think it was about 2 hours or so. We drove into this like small town in northern Iceland, and it was so quaint. The views were amazing.
And that's where we stayed the night, right? Mm-hmm. So actually that campsite too happened to be one of like the prettiest sunsets that we saw like the whole time being there. Super, super gorgeous, and we were figuring out how to like work the tent and everything else that night too, because we had like a
Kirkjuvel mountain. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it was actually 10 minutes away from where we camped, which is why we camped in that site. And it was such an insanely beautiful, like, first actual nature location.
This just so happens to be like the Iceland monument. Out of everything we saw while being there, this was one of the most iconic like Icelandic mountains. So if you just searched up Iceland locations, you typically would see this mountain. It's like portrayed as like the most like Icelandic thing while being there, and it did not disappoint. It was gorgeous. We got a bunch of really cool waterfall shots while being there. Just keep in mind the shots that we got, we went down into the waterfall. I'm not 100% sure you're supposed to do that. So if you guys go there, do that at your own risk or just don't do it. But yeah, that was such a gorgeous location.
Yeah, it really was stunning. The waterfall in front of the mountain was so iconic, and then when you're driving to that exact location, there's like a very small and thin road, and you're surrounded by water on both sides, which we were able to get drone shots off, and they look amazing.
Those turned out so good. So we packed up, got back on the road because we had a very, very special stay that night. We collaborated with Savart Lodge, and they were kind enough to basically comp our full stay to stay at this humongous luxury resort. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, we looked up at the prices of how much it actually would be to stay there, and it is not cheap. So if you guys want to go on a more luxurious getaway in Iceland, this would be the place for you.
Maybe if you have a lot of friends too, because it is a
Yeah,
big
it's
lodge,
humongous.
and it will make it.
I think, how many bedrooms were there?
doable.
There was 1, 2,
I think there's 3.
3 probably, yeah.
But 2 of the bedrooms have like 2 beds.
Yeah, so bigger rooms
Yeah.
for sure. That was just such a treat. Not only were we so exhausted from the snorkeling tour the day before, but they had a hot tub pool in the back. They had saunas. They had a wet and dry sauna, and it was just so gorgeous. We watched Walter Mitty that night. Everything about that stay was just perfect. It was just such a gorgeous place. We were so grateful once again, thanks to Savart Lodge for hooking that up. All their stuff will be linked down below too in the itinerary. So we wake up the next morning to like a bunch of messages.
Yeah, like it's kind of like an Amber Alert, but their
It's
version,
like
I guess.
like a
of it.
storm alert basically, and it was saying it was like a code orange, which we both don't know what that necessarily means, but it was, the wind was the strongest we've seen the whole trip. It was ripping doors open. It was raining super hard, and then it started snowing. We were actually leaving the north when we got all those notifications. So we booked it out of there early that morning, got back on the road, and we started heading towards Dolelaj Canyon. This is one of the most iconic canyons in Iceland, honestly. In all FPV shots too, it is one of those bucket shots for sure.
Yeah, you'll definitely see a lot of FPV pilots fly in this canyon, and I actually was able to get my very first FPV flight there, which was very intimidating.
Like, I was nervous. My hands were shaking as I was flying, and not to mention it's extremely cold and snowing while being there. And Allie flies her first ever FPV shot in this canyon, which was extremely impressive because there's walls on both sides. And she got some awesome FPV shots. I got some really cool shots. And the first day we actually got snowed out. We had some gear issues, and then the snow started coming down. So we had to pack everything up, go get some food, and then stay there overnight and actually get our shots the next morning. But we went and got hamburgers after this place, and for 2 hamburgers, it was about like $67. So just keep that in mind when you guys go anywhere and you're eating out in Iceland. It's going to be pricier, probably double what you'd probably pay in the States, depending on where you guys are watching from. But just keep that in mind. We decided to eat at more local places while being there. Like, their grocery stores are very nice. So it's like, not like in America, you wouldn't want to just eat at a grocery store, maybe not the best quality of food. But there, it's like you would eat like full-on fresh, great sandwiches and other stuff that's packaged and pretty well made. So we did that a lot of the time.
Yeah, Cronin was our favorite grocery store.
Yeah,
they have
Cronin.
really good stuff there, so definitely check them out.
If you guys go there, try Cronin. Sandwiches, they have a bunch of other fresh stuff there too. Just keep in mind that before you guys go to certain locations that you go on the right side. There's also 2 different sides to this canyon. You got to make sure you go on the right tourist side instead of the other side that's just like a sightseeing side. So yeah, make sure you guys pay attention when you do that. And we got back in the car to go to Hengi Falls, which, I mean, was absolutely stunning.
Yeah, this waterfall is very iconic in Iceland because it has red stripes, and it's the only waterfall that has red accents, and it's also really, really tall. So a lot of FPV pilots also will fly down the waterfall.
Yeah, and we got our shots doing that too. It was super, super special to get those shots. But yeah, a little bit more people there slightly, but so worth it. Some of the places you're gonna see in the full video, some places aren't worth it, some places are. This, in our opinion, would be one of those places that there's a little bit more traffic, but such a stunning place. It is beyond stunning. So that was a really special place. Okay, so the next location we went to was some of the best drone locations. So all the drone pilots out there, pay attention to these next places. They were beyond stunning. These were some of like my favorite places we went to.
Absolutely incredible. This place in specific, it was a lighthouse, and it's not the lighthouse that makes it iconic and important. It's basically the rock formations behind it and the way that the land basically ends. The way that it's formed, it just makes absolutely stunning photos and videos. The wind was insane, however. I couldn't fly
insane.
my drone, my Air 2S.
There's a video of me getting thrown over by the wind.
Yeah.
I've never seen wind this strong before, and I'm not trying to brag on my drone, but the Mavic 3 Classic is a trooper of a drone. It kept up so well on this trip. She brought her Air, and there was no way we were putting that up. There was no way. A Mini would be gone in a second. This drone put it up, and there was a chance that maybe it wouldn't come back. And that drone is so sturdy. It just so happened to get my favorite shots in probably the whole trip. These shots just turned out the best, pictures and video. So yeah, that place was worth it. That drone is just...
So basically, don't go to Iceland with a mini drone because it's not gonna make it. By the way, the name of this location is Valnesfidi. I think that's how it's...
That's probably the closest we're gonna get to it. Again, guys, we're gonna link everything down below. It's very hard to pronounce this stuff. But this was by far one of my favorite drone locations in the whole trip. So the next location, we got back in the car, and it wasn't that far away from this location. They're very close, ironically enough. So you just kind of have to drive around, maybe a 30 max minute drive, maybe closer to 20. And it's called Stoikish. Is that right? Stoiknish?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And this is like the iconic sand dunes location with like the mountains in the back and everything. Also got some gorgeous shots while being here, running through the sand dunes. But we also didn't know about the pricing before we got there too.
Yeah, so I think we got pizza that night, and then we went over there because we camped in this location. You have to either pay to camp there, or you have to pay an entrance fee to like drive your car out there. So we actually paid to camp in the location, and honestly we thought it was going to be an expensive campsite because it was nicer. They had showers, they had a cafe. It was really nice, and there was a lot of people there. But we just paid, I think it was maybe $25 probably.
They had showers there, they had a cafe right across the street, and it seemed like a lot of people were camping here at the time too. Gorgeous place, and it was smarter to camp and have the entrance fee for the next morning instead of paying for them separately and paying almost double that. And that got us entrance to everything in the park. And it just so happened it got us into the next location we went to that was kind of in the same exact vicinity, and that was the Viking Village. We both really wanted to do this. It was like both very high up in our things. And shout out Mason, he actually sent me this location to go to, and we sure enough were like, oh, we're here right now, we'll go to it. Such a cool place.
Yeah, we had no idea where it was, and it was just so ironic that it was in the same place that we camped.
Like literally, like right behind where we camped, it was the location.
Yeah.
So that just so happened to be like the coolest little aha moment of like, oh wow, we're literally right here already. And we were not going to drive out of the way for this place either. So just so happened to be there. So super cool. You can go and see an old Viking village. We don't know exactly what it is. Some people said it was an old farm that just kind of got turned into this Viking village thing. Some said it was an old movie set. So I think it kind of depends on like where you actually hear from, but it is super cool. They have like a whole like Viking ship out there you can climb on, and a bunch of the actual buildings you can walk through still. So
yeah, the location was honestly pretty cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought we both had a great time there.
Okay, so after Viking Village, we got in the car and we drove to Glacier Lagoon, which was a little bit more south. Viking Village and that whole area was more like the southeast.
Yeah.
And then we drove more to the south. It was about an hour or so, but honestly, very, very much worth it. It's a place that is very popular and everyone goes to when they go to Iceland.
Big tourist attraction. When I say big, one of the biggest.
Lots of people.
It's so easy to get to from Reykjavik and all these other capitals that you could just get there so easily and just go and walk and see the lagoon and all the glaciers. But one of the coolest parts about going there is it's a tradition to pick up one of these small little icebergs, and you can actually eat the ice straight from it. So don't get me wrong, it will still be sandy because it's from the beach, but the actual glacier will be fresh water because it's coming from the glacier instead of the ocean, which we both love so much.
It was some pretty good ice.
Yeah, it was.
It was the best ice I've
Save
had.
some for later. Put it in our Yetis.
I know.
But yeah, we did a lot of fun there. That's just kind of like a quick little stop, maybe take a video of you eating some ice and getting back on the road. Super cool drone location too, but obviously be careful because I think inside the Glacier Lagoon area, it's a national park. Outside by the beach, it's not. So, if you're gonna get drone shots, obviously be smart. Don't fly them in the actual national park.
Okay, so after Glacier Lagoon, we went to Muglifur Canyon, and it was a really spectacular canyon in Iceland as well. I wanted to get some drone shots really, really bad, so we hiked up maybe about 20 minutes or so. We decided to stop there because we were tired. We didn't want to continue hiking.
We'd already done so much hiking that she was fed up. She's like, we're not doing any more hiking today. This is it. We're done.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, girl takes her drone off straight into the canyon, and it's funny enough, we just saw a video before we went to this canyon saying, oh, my drone got attacked by a bird when being there. And sure enough, what happens to us when she flies her drone there? One of the very few places she can actually fly her drone, a bird actually starts to come and attack her drone. So the shots we got from there were absolutely stunning, but again, very risky.
There
very
were
risky.
literally 200 birds in that canyon.
Flying
so it was
everywhere.
really scary. I mean, I was starting to get really, really nervous, so I didn't fly my drone as far as I probably wanted to, and I started just freaking out. My hands were shaking, and I was just like, okay, I gotta bring it back, because there were literally signs on my DJI app, there's something above you, there's someone next to you.
The sensors were going off crazy. I've never seen this happen before, but what will happen is, obviously with there being this many birds at this location, there's obviously plenty of nest, and with the mother birds see something else that's foreign out of the sky, they'll come and attack it to protect their their chicks and their nest. So it was cool to get the shot, but we did not just have the drone hang out there. Got the shot and pulled out, and we got back to the next location, and we were racing the clock at this time too. The sun was setting, but this next location was absolutely stunning. It was one of those locations that you kind of have to see in person to believe. Flygigrafur Canyon. So this place, I think someone made a music video there. It's been in a bunch of documentaries. This is a very famous canyon, and we just got lucky enough to have just enough time to do it in the span of the day, and the wind was just crazy by the time we were there. And I just had a bad feeling about putting my FPV drone up. We went there to get an FPV shot going through the canyon, and we did end up getting the shot, which was a really big letdown for both of us because we both were looking forward to it.
Yeah, we couldn't do it at all.
And we still had to hike up there to do the whole thing. The shots we got while being there were super cool. The sunset was just so dreamy, and I remember we got one drone shot just because, for the heck of it, of being there.
Yeah.
We got a drone shot just to get the shot, and I remember that was a really special drone shot because we were both so worn out. The day just beat us up. The wind was just way too strong to fly anything in the air, and I still was like, we're getting this drone shot. I don't care if I wreck the drone, we're getting it. And we got it, and we called that a night. We camped somewhere close by. We were camping in Vik, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
it's such a cute little town. It's very popular. So the southern side of Iceland, it's probably the most touristy. You're going to see a lot of people, a lot of tour buses. This town was really, really cute.
I think we camped there 2 nights. We liked Vik so much that we camped there twice. And it's just a really cool place. There was a really nice campsite that we stayed at that was super cool. It was packed full of people. There was a
Yeah.
Cronin grocery store right across the street too, which was
The best one too.
super easy to like get dinner and stuff as well. The only reason why we stayed in that campsite is because we had something very, very special to do the next morning at the crack of dawn, and it was to go to the plane wreck. So this is one of like the most famous plane wrecks in Iceland, and we had to go and see it. It was such a special. That's kind of like what inspired the trip, honestly, because you always see people going to the plane wrecked Iceland, and you don't really have as many places to actually go see stuff like that. So it was a really special time for me to go and see that. I know she enjoyed it a lot too. The hike to get there.
It was far.
Yeah.
It's not really a hike, it's just a walk, but it's so far away that you can't see anything but sand around you. And you start to get really frustrated. You're like, I've been walking for 25 minutes. Like, where is this? And you still won't be able to see it.
It was a lot, and it's a lot longer than you think. We just kept doing the same. Oh, we're almost there. We're almost there. We weren't almost there. You'll just keep walking and keep walking until you finally see the plane, and it is so special. It was such a cool thing to see it. Funny enough, I'm gonna get an FPV shot, and I can't just be humble enough to say, let's just get a normal FPV shot. So I went to go and sit on top of the plane to get the FPV shot, and it was so cold. My fingers are fully tensed up, and we ended up wrecking the FPV drone to get this shot. Was it worth it?
It was worth it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. We lost the GoPro for over an hour, had to walk around in circles until Allie finally found it.
And it was so hard because the sand is dark. It's like black sand, and the GoPro is black. So.
And the ND filter shadowed completely off. It was in pieces everywhere, and that's like the only like gold shiny thing on the drone. So yeah, it was crazy. It was very intense. We were kind of upset about crashing it, but those are the risks that you take when getting a shot like that. So again, FPV pilots watching this, fly at your own risk, because it is not like flying in a simulator in Iceland. With the wind and everything, with the mountains and everything too, it's so hard to control a drone there. So super cool, got the shot, got out of there. And I remember this was like a busy day too. So we did that, and I think we did the waterfalls too that day, right?
We did Skogafoss.
Skogafoss.
Yes.
We did Skogafoss, which I think was her like favorite thing from the trip.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites for sure. It's a very, very, very famous, probably the most famous waterfall in all of Iceland. It's humongous. It is so stunning, and it's surrounded by so much greenery. Like, it's like plushy green grass. It's absolutely gorgeous. It blew me away. Like, I would have spent an hour, 2 hours just in this location, just taking it all in because it was that beautiful.
It's intense. Like, the waterfall is so big, so powerful. It's just so nice to stand there and just feel that power. And it was packed. Keep in mind, this ends up being one of like the biggest tourist attractions.
Yeah.
And being so easily accessible, you just drive straight into the parking lot. I mean, really, really packed.
No hike required for this one.
No hike. I mean, you walk through a parking lot if you consider that a hike, and you're straight there. So with that being so easy access, there was everyone there. So that was really cool. And then we went to one other, it wasn't another waterfall. We went to the Black Sand Beach.
Yeah.
Also, really, really special location. Do you know what this one was called?
Rangeverna or something like that. Oh, I was right. Rangeverna.
So it's the Black Sand Beach that has all of like the granite stones all lining up to basically what we said the capital was based off of.
Yeah.
It is super, super stunning. Also, one of the most packed tourist places. You're catching the trend. The easier and the closer you are to Reykjavik, the more packed it is.
Yeah.
This one was mega, mega packed too.
Yeah, this place, in our opinions, we probably could have skipped it, honestly. It was really nice to look at it, but it wasn't like Skogafoss, for example, that was still really packed, but you have to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just keep in mind, I think we got a ticket at this location too. And when we turned in our rental car, we had multiple other tickets too. Yeah. So if you get to a location and you don't see a parking meter, double check, because this location, it was so crazy packed. We thought, no way is there parking meters.
Yeah.
There are cars lined up waiting for spots. There's just people everywhere. Tour buses lined up. And we parked down, like far down into the parking lot, where it's like you just pull into a random ditch basically. And we got a ticket for not paying for parking, which we thought was crazy because we never saw a parking meter. And it, just keep in mind, guys, everything you have to pay for there. If you get somewhere, you just think, oh, I'm just gonna run in really quick, just go and look really quick. No,
They'll
like,
get you.
yeah, so you'll just get basically charged. We don't know how it actually meters you, but
It could be the elf.
it could be the elves.
The elves, yeah.
It definitely could be the elves. Maybe they're just parking meter and they just give you
Because
tickets.
they're so fast. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, yeah. So we went there really quick, and by the end of the time us leaving, we already got a ticket. So just keep that in mind. Nothing is free in Iceland. It's one of the biggest things they'll tell you before you go there. You have to pay for everything down to a cent. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
After that, we got back in the car and we had to drive quite a bit to this next Airbnb. It was in the middle of nowhere in southern Iceland. And we really wanted to go here because we were collaborating with them, but we got lost on the way. You had to drive through a little bitty baby river, and it was super cool. Once we got there, we were really out in the middle of nowhere. Oh, by the way, it was called Elfri Torfa. Just so you guys know, it's on Airbnb. We'll link everything down below. Super, super nice people we were dealing with, so friendly, and we actually got the best sleep in the whole trip at this place.
The best sleep. I don't know what it was about that bed, but it was the most comfortable bed I've ever laid on. I literally want to fly to Iceland, buy the whole bed, and bring it home with me. It was that spectacular.
I think this one was a lot smaller than the first one we stayed in too, so it's just a lot more of a cozy, very like cabiny feel. And it was just us, like a one bedroom and then like a small little living room kitchen thing together. But we love stuff like that. That's what we're used to. So it's like, it was such a good little retreat for us. Super cool content. The place was gorgeous. It had like grass and other different ferns and stuff like that on the roof, which is an Icelandic tradition, because back in the old days, that's how Vikings actually insulated their homes.
Yeah.
So just fun little fact right there. And that's why it was so important for us to actually get that good of sleep and really recharge, because we knew the next day was going to be going to the Highlands, which was going to be probably the climax of the whole trip.
Yeah.
The most intense, the most crazy part of the trip. So that's what we started to do the next day. So we drove out of there. We drove all the way back around and we came back into the Highlands from the top part. That's road F208. That's the most known road and way to get into the Highlands. If you don't have a crazy serious 4x4, take that route. We had seen that, but we didn't know. And we're like, oh, this will be fast. It's right by the Airbnb. We're good. It took us a little bit longer to drive all the way around. There are websites we can link down below that will tell you the severity of the off-road conditions, especially with the F-roads. Don't take a chance. If you have a smaller 4x4, a lot of roads you can make, but when you get to those really thick roads, it's not worth it. You know, hey, this is not for me. Turn around, be safe. Yeah. But yeah, we are now into the Highlands, and this is when the trip got really intense. I mean, gas stations are a lot more scarce. They're not impossible. You won't just like never see them, but you need to start being smart about filling up every single time your tank gets halfway, because you could go for an hour and a half and end up getting stuck somewhere, and you need that fuel for like your heater and keep you guys warm. So we got back in the car, and this is when you feel like you're driving basically on the moon.
Yeah, basically. Everything is just black sand all around you. It looks literally like a different planet. It looks pretty insane. And so the only thing that we actually saw that day were these blood craters that were so insane, so large. It's basically craters made of sand, and they have this like red tint around the top. So magical.
Gorgeous. I mean, out of all the places we went, this is one of the ones that felt unreal. It felt unreal. We're sitting there on top of one of the blood craters. We like ran on top of it. The wind is just destroying us. There's sand in our boots. There's sand in our jackets. Our faces are like pale flush with just how crazy this place was.
Sand is hitting us in the face.
All directions.
Yeah.
It felt like we were in a movie. Like, what is that one when he's like on space? What is it? Interstellar. It felt like we were characters in Interstellar. It really did. Like we were walking on this thing like we felt like we were on the moon.
Yeah.
And I think it was just dark enough where there was no one there, but we didn't see one car pass us the whole time we were on top of this thing. We're just by ourselves. And I think it was for very good reasons, because it's getting dark and no one wants to be driving on these roads at nighttime, which I would not recommend you guys to do.
Yeah. So we actually found a campsite very, very close to that place. It was in the Highlands. We drove maybe 20 minutes in the Highlands to this campsite, and it was in the Fjalbak Nature Reserve.
Fjalbak Nature Preserve. It's very hard to say, but this is a very good like stopping point. And they also call this like the river point on the way to Mangalore. What is it? The Mangalore or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
So
Sure.
basically, this is the river that a lot of people have to cross in order to get into the Highlands.
Yeah.
We didn't have to because we came from the northern point and we came down. But if you come from the southern side, this is the exact river you would have to cross. And this river was no joke. I mean, we're seeing like 5 cars at a time getting their engines fried out completely because they just do not have a big enough 4x4 and it completely destroy the car. And when you get your rental car, the first thing they'll make you sign is ash protection, dust protection, volcanic activity protection. You know, you literally slam a door protection. I mean, like literally everything they charge you for when you get a rental car. Just keep in mind. But the one thing they will tell you is if you take your car through a river, no insurance will protect you no matter what. So it is completely full on you if you go and take your car into a river.
Yeah.
We did not take that risk. I told her if we needed to go through a river one time during the trip and we really needed to risk something, it would be on us to risk it. And we did not need to go into the actual campsite to do this. So that was basically lucked out on us. And you'll see where there's a small parking lot before the river where a lot of people do stay. A lot of the smaller 4x4s stay here. And we stayed there with no problems. It was about maybe a 10-minute walk to the actual bathroom, showers, and then some. And we stayed there overnight, and we wake up the next morning to complete white snow everywhere.
So the night we got there, everything was green. And this nature reserve is known for all its different colors, and it looks absolutely stunning. And then again, when we woke up the next morning, it was covered in snow.
Yes.
Fully covered.
And we started to see all these people take off. And it was super weird because we're like, hey, we're going to go brush our teeth, wash our face, do morning routine, kind of get caught up, send a couple tweets out, memes and stuff like that. And I'm seeing people just get in the car, leave. And there must have been some type of radio in saying, hey, if you guys don't leave now, the snow's coming down hard enough, you won't be able to leave. Well, we didn't get that memo. So Allie's over here putting on a full face of makeup, doing her skin routine. I mean, for all I know, she could have been painting her nails and doing her eyelashes. I have no clue, but I'm like, let's go. Let's hurry this up. We get on the road and we start to see that the car is sliding. Like it's sliding in a lot of places that we are not feeling comfortable with. And we see this humongous steep hill that we're thinking to ourselves, there's no way we can do this, but we have to at least try right now, right? We need to get out of here. We have a humongous day planned for the Highlands. We have to get going. And sure enough, we get stuck. Multiple times we slid all over. Thank goodness nothing happened to the rental car. We didn't slam into the side, but we almost did. We power slided off the side where the snow is, caught ourselves just in the nick of time, and it was a very bad situation. Multiple other cars tried after us, and then basically what happened was a full-on traffic jam. And we were the first car that basically started it. We went, couldn't make it. Then the next car went, couldn't make it. Then the third car went, couldn't make it. And we're all sitting here like, what do? We need to get out of here. And
you basically slide back down.
Yeah.
It was really, really scary because the road was already getting icy.
On a cliff, on the edge of a ditch, too.
It was terrifying.
And we didn't know if it was going to be, a number of days where this blizzard could be going on for. We have no clue, right? So we were all freaking out, and we met this older lady that was there with their granddaughter, super, super friendly lady, and they said, hey, we're gonna go back to camp and just wait it out like everyone else is. There's nothing we can do. And we were like, okay, that makes a good sense. Like, we'll go, come on, we'll just wait. And we did. We waited for a couple hours. Once the sun came up more, the snow started to melt and the snow slowed down a bit, and we gave it another go and we made it out. Again, guys, if you do not have winter tires, if you go to Iceland in winter, you have to be extremely careful. Going up mountains and hills and going into mountains or down them, that's where you could get in very, very bad trouble very quick. So if you do not have the proper vehicle or tires, you need to be very, very careful, because we went in the middle of, or the very end of summer, where it's not really snowing that much, but it was snowing here and there, and we were actually in like the deeper places like the highlands, and you just have to be smart. If there's snow everywhere and you gotta try to take a drive like this, you could get very, very bad, like fly off a cliff or something. So just be smart. Again, wear your head on your shoulders and talk to people. We weren't just like trying to meet a bunch of people because we had so much stuff going on, but super friendly old lady is like, hey, we're gonna go back, it's not worth it, let's just, play it safe. And I was like, you have a point, you're probably right. So we did that. We got out in the perfect time to go to the next location.
Yeah. And this is also why you have to make sure that you always have a good amount of gas and food in the car with you, because you don't know what could happen.
You never know. And that's the thing too. Like if we had like maybe a quarter of a tank left and we got stuck there, and maybe we needed the car to be like warm to like keep us warm, and we run out of gas, that's where you get very, very nervous, because going on a highway gas mileage, you could be in the upper 400s like we would typically be, and then you get into these off-road roads where you're going super steep, four-wheel drive, super decline, and your gas mileage will shoot down to like half of that, like 195. You're like, wait, hold on, we just had 400, what's going on? But the car's gas mileage is smart enough to know, hey, if you're in these really rugged conditions, you have to have enough gas to make sure you're safe. So we always were super smart about if we were going to go somewhere deep, get gas before we made the trek down. So you guys should do the same.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so after we made it out of the highlands, or of that campsite, we finally were able to get to our most anticipated location of the entire trip.
The only location out of every single thing we saw in there that was almost completely understood by both of us, we were not going to get there.
No one tells you where it is. There's creators that will post photos of this location, and they will literally, they will send you a laughing face emoji if you ask them, where is it?
In my opinion, this is one of the most hidden locations in all of Iceland. And as a personal photographer, I understand that there's a certain level of respect of like you caring enough to go and find a location. But the way they are about this location is like, if you ask them, like, go kick rocks, buddy, you'll never find this place. Trust me, you will never find it. And we spent 6 hours straight, 6 hours straight going through Google Maps, couldn't find it, Apple Maps, couldn't find it, going back and forth, pinning locations, DMing photographers, DMing people that have just gone back from Iceland, nothing. Finally finding it, finding this speck of little crater. So even though it doesn't have a single name, it is the most gorgeous little blue turquoise crater lake in the middle of nowhere. It is, if you're a photographer or a drone pilot, this is the must find location. It's not as hard as you might think to actually get there. It's one consistent dirt, black sand road, which is a pretty gorgeous drive. You're in the middle of nowhere. We saw one other person and we were there for over 2 hours.
Yeah.
No one else on the road. You're in the middle of nowhere. That's why I say this is like the hardest to get to location in all of Iceland, because it's just in the middle of nowhere.
It's hard to find, but not hard to get to once
you
do
locate
find it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And there's roads to get there, so it's not like you're off-roading, because off-roading in Iceland is illegal, just for you guys know. Mm-hmm. There are roads to get there, so it's not like you're breaking any laws to actually get there. And most stunning place. This was my bucket list shot. Out of all the other locations, I would have traded for this any day because of how impossible I thought it was going to be to get there.
It really leaves you speechless. It's that stunning. It's like even looking back at our photos or our footage, it just like takes you back to that moment, and
it gives me chills.
Yeah.
Like looking at the pictures, I'm like, no way we took these. No way we found this location. And it literally looks like there's no roads anywhere, rivers everywhere, and it's absolutely stunning, like a movie. But that was just the highlight of my trip. After finding this, I was like, I don't care if we do anything else. Yeah. I could just go to sleep for the next 2 days. I do not care. This place was so worth it. Again, since it doesn't have a name We're going to put the coordinates down below because, again, with it not having a name, you actually have to have the coordinates to find it. So after this, we were done with the highlands. This was like the last thing we wanted to find before we said, let's get back to civilization, maybe an hour max away from Reykjavik and Keflavik, because we didn't want to have to be in the highlands like 30 minutes before we needed to fly out of there. So we drove back and I
think we actually went back to Vik.
And we camped there again. That was the second night we camped there. Yeah.
Because it was in the right location. There were a couple other things that we wanted to do around that same area, and it also wasn't too far from the airport, so we thought, okay, this is the best place to do it. So we went back to our Cronin, and then we camped at the same campsite. The next morning, Seljalandfoss.
This is like the thumbnail waterfall. You see it on everyone's thumbnail because you can actually walk right up behind it. So everyone's thumbnail basically being behind the waterfall being like, what? Iceland. This is that location. Super, super cool. I know she had a great time there too.
Yeah, it was really, really nice, and it was so spectacular to walk behind it. You don't realize how small you are or how big the waterfall is until you are literally standing behind it. And we actually went down as close as the very bottom to the waterfall. And it was nice too because it's also a very big tourist location, but we went there so early that there were some people, but it wasn't like overcrowded.
Yeah, we got there at the perfect timing since we did go there so early in the morning, and we brought a 360 camera to go like underneath the waterfall and do all of that. It was so stunning. I could see this place getting very, very packed though. So be smart, go bright and early in the morning, and don't wait till everyone gets there because this would be a big tourist location. We did this one early because we had just like the perfect way to end the trip planned lastly this day.
Yeah.
So we got to see this gorgeous waterfall. Again, pay for parking when you go there. Don't forget. Don't forget, trust me, they will get your ass.
Yeah, they will. And this was a more relaxed day because it was the last day before we flew out the next morning. So we just had a quick breakfast in the car after that, and then we went to find this secret hot spring in the middle of nothing in Iceland, just mountains, which we saw pictures of it and we were like, there's no way this is real.
And there's no way this is free either. The first thing we thought was, no, we've paid for every single thing while being here. This is gonna have a high ticket. Just trust me, we're gonna get there, we're gonna pay for parking and this and a tour guide and whatever else. And we got there, and sure enough, there's no one there. It was completely, I think we got there was 3 people there. Mm-hmm. The other couple left, so then it was only us and one other, there was like a hitchhiker that was there too. And so basically the hitchhiker was just in the corner, so it was just like me and Allie in this hot springs in the middle of this mountain valley. I mean, there was no better way to end the trip. It was gorgeous.
Really, really nice. And if there was still a hike to get up there, but I mean, it was really, really gorgeous. It was worth it. The water wasn't as hot as we had expected it to be. Obviously, it's not summertime. It's a little colder outside, but it still was
pretty warm.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, it was pretty warm. Warmer than we were actually expecting. And it's just such a weird feeling to be in like a hot spring and it's freezing cold outside. Mm-hmm. And she didn't want to jump in, but I jumped in. So the last clip that we got was me jumping into the hot spring as she like just kind of jumped into. And it was really, really cool.
The sun was out.
Yeah, it was just nice to kind of rinse off too. We were both so exhausted from the past day. So just kind of rinsed off in there, got changed back because it was freezing. We're not going to be leaving shirtless. And yeah, we left after that and then started driving more closer to Keflavik so for the next morning we could fly out. And we just found a really small, really local campsite. It was actually that Happy Campers.
Yeah.
It was their campsite. It was really close to the airport. I think it was, how far of a drive was it the next morning?
I think it was like 10 minutes.
15 minutes, 10, 15?
Yeah.
And that helped us a lot, not having to stress the next morning out thinking, oh, if we're in the Highlands, what if something happens or we get snowed in that morning, we miss our flight. Mm-hmm. So I think we planned out the trip just perfectly. I remember before we went, one of her mother's friends goes to Iceland all the time, and we told him we planned on going to the Highlands and driving around Iceland in a full circle doing Ring Road. And he was like, you can't do that in 10 days. No, you can't. And we were like, but what does our itinerary say we're going to do it in 10 days? And he was like, I'm just telling you, you can't do that trip in 10 days. And we sure enough did. And it was a busy trip, and that's why we wanted to make this video a little bit more slow pace, telling you like the ins and outs, everything that we did, because the trip was so quick and so in and out, and pack your bags and get ready, we gotta go here. It was a lot. You know, I left my clogs, we realized. I just left them somewhere because it just like was so quick. We just packed up, cool, let's go. And my brand new clogs I've barely worn just left there, and we were back on the road. So it's such an intense trip that you have to just be there in the moment. And I think that's why we blinked an eye and the trip was over, because of how like it was just so stunning. It was almost hard to process everything and take it all in. We'd go somewhere and just be like, we're just like mesmerized, like this is just so gorgeous. We go to the next place and it's like that just topped it. We go to the next place and then that tops it. Iceland is such a dream vacation. If you guys get a chance to go there, please follow our itinerary, do some of the stuff that we didn't even get a chance to do, and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
It is one of those trips that you will never forget if you get a chance to go there.
It's definitely the most stunning place I've been to, but I think it's one of the most beautiful places in the
I think it's
entire
the most
world.
memorable place too.
Yeah,
For how intense it is, for getting like stuck in the highlands, for finding those dream locations, for meeting such amazing people and tour guides and sharing experiences. It is a world-class place, but you have to make sure you plan accordingly, or things can get horribly expensive.
Yeah.
We were hearing how expensive it would have been to, you know, if we had to tow a car, if it got stuck in like the river or the ice, and it could be upwards of thousands and thousands of dollars just to get a tow truck in these super hard to find locations. So be smart when you go there, and again, enjoy it, because
Yeah, it's a very, very intense place for sure, but don't let that keep you from going. And like literally just driving around the entire island is the best way to do it. But don't bring nice shoes that you don't want to lose if you're going to do that.
or just to wear for the airport.
It's
and, like,
very rugged.
yeah.
So
You only need a pair of hiking boots. We wore them every single day.
Pretty much.
And that's why I lost my clogs, because just like I wore them to the airport and then I just looked for them at the end of the trip and they're gone, because it's so quick. Put on your hiking boots and get on with the day.
yeah,
So yeah.
hiking boots and flip-flops for the showers.
Yes.
That's it.
On that note, again, thank you guys for watching the whole series and sticking around. It was so cool to not only connect with you guys in each and every episode, but just to bring you guys along for the journey. You know, like we got into making travel videos to educate people on kind of like our mess ups and our flaws and things that we didn't realize about Iceland. And this year was a lot of fun to make. So on that note, we need to get going because we need to start planning the next trip.
Yeah. Where should we go?